School Safety by Corey Rambout. I chose to do Alexander Central School District, which is where my kids go. And I've done some work just by being that my kids go there. School demographics. Alexander is in good standing according to the New York State website. There are a few teachers teaching outside of their certification field. However, that number is significantly low compared to the number of teachers teaching within their certification field. Alexander is a good school when it comes to accountability and teacher performance. Our school is made up of 93% Caucasian, 13% multicultural, 3% Hispanic or Latino, 1% African American, and 1% Asian or Hawaiian. I found these statistics to be interesting because I would have thought the Hispanic or Latino and the multicultural percentages to be a little bit higher just because of all the farm fields, and they're a school very similar to where I subbed at, which had a lot of Hispanic and Latino kiddos from their parents working on the farms. Our school does have a school resource officer. He does make his presence known through both buildings. However, he is primarily in the middle and high school building, and he only really comes to the elementary school if there's an issue. He has been there for 3 years. School safety policies are nonviolent conflict resolution, extended day and safety programs, district-wide instruction about violence protection and mental health awareness, required professional development trainings and multi-hazard trainings in violence prevention for teachers and staff. They do have a TIG team, which is trauma TIG team stands for trauma, illness, and grief. They do have the team, which is made up of counselors and mental health professionals and the school resource officer for that. Programs that are run by peers with adult mentoring. So that one, students that are at high risk for bullying and school violence, they get a peer or an adult, and that person will mentor them and help them talk about any issues they may be having. They also have a separate mentoring students program, which may have concerns about bullying and violence within the school. For the parents and the community, they have informational seminars and trainings. Now, this was on the website, but when asked in the interview questions, there was nothing said about it. The parent and the previous student had no idea that these types of things were available. Discrepancies in the policies that I had found was their website does not mention anything of a zero tolerance policy, but I know just from being involved there and people that I have spoke to prior to this class, they do use a zero tolerance policy on many things, such as bullying and violence. One instance, two friends had started a fight and they got suspended because they were fighting, and they knew that that was going to be what happened, so they were fine with it. They wanted to be suspended. Analysis of interviews. Many of the questions I had asked revolved around school violence and if the people I had interviewed were aware of any situation that may have been handled differently than they had hoped. One of the instances that I had interviewed or that had come up in the interview was the fight amongst the two kiddos. And then another instance was a parent that was not allowed to be at the school was able to come into the school and question the teacher about things. And when the people that had custody of that child asked to speak with the school resource officer and the principal, they did get to speak to the principal and they got to speak to the special ed director who used to be the principal. But the school resource officer said that he was going to make a phone call. That never happened. And the parent that was not allowed to be there due to court orders and everything got away with it and was able to contact the school and everything like that, even though they had a court order stating specifically this parent was not allowed to just show up at school to see their child. I had interviewed a school secretary, a parent, and a previous student. Many of them had the same answers to all of the questions that I had asked. The analysis of the interview, also, when I asked about school safety, each stakeholder stated that Alexander does a decent job of keeping students and staff safe. They do not have anything like a metal detector or anything like that. The kids all just pretty much know what they can and cannot bring into school, and that's been working out pretty well. When asked about conflict resolution, they felt that the conflict resolution is used throughout the school effectively, but it's mainly just in the elementary grades where that's really a big focus. Zero tolerance was not mentioned on the school website, like I had said before, but each stakeholder did mention that they know of many instances of students being suspended in and out of school for fighting or making any type of threat. When asked about the distribution of safety policies, each person had mentioned they are not distributed effectively. The parent and the student I had talked to stated that when you enroll your child, you're given a packet and the policies are briefly put in there, but nothing talked about the zero tolerance policy, which had seemed to be a common theme throughout the three people that I had interviewed. They also mentioned that not a lot of parents would read the handbook. The school secretary had mentioned that to me. When asked if there were any instances of safety-related issues, the secretary had not heard of anything, but the parent had mentioned to me that her daughter was being harassed on the school bus, and instead of removing the child that was harassing her, her daughter got removed from the school bus. And they told the parent that she needed to provide the transportation to and from her school for her daughter until the school bus issue was resolved. The previous student mentioned about another fight that had happened in the hallway between two other friends because they had seen that the first two got suspended, so they thought it would be fun and try to get suspended. When asked if teachers have the proper support to help students at high risk of bullying, the answers were also similar. It depended on the grade level and the teacher. If there was a substitute, they all told me no substitutes are required to take the same trainings. So therefore, if you have a substitute and something happens, or even a long-term substitute, you're pretty much um, at your own discretion at that point of the teachers. A lot of the elementary teachers tend to brush off bullying just because they feel that students that young cannot be capable of bullying others. And when asked if they feel the staff is trained sufficiently in conflict resolution, the answers all came back the same depending on the teachers. So it definitely looked like there could be room for improvement as to how to get the policies distributed, how to train their staff. The previous student and the parent said that they hoped that substitutes would be trained because it would be money well worth spent, in their opinion, so that everybody was on the same page when it came to school safety. And then these are my references. Thank you for watching.